All right, so we got a good group that have arrived. Last week we did a short session, and it was about putting together what we could call success sheets. Some people call them SWOT. What is strength, weaknesses, something, threats. But anything you call it, everyone should have one. I don't care how complete or organized it is. Now, for those that were here last week and didn't do any work on putting it together, didn't care about it, didn't think it was important, then you shouldn't even be here. Now, if you weren't here last week, well, then it's not your fault. You didn't know what we were going to do this week. But if you were here last week, you put no time into this, then why even come this week? And I'm serious when I tell people, if you work for me and you didn't do this, you'd be fired. You'd be gone. It would be like strike 2, 3, and 4, goodbye. And I'm being firm with everyone because when you're told something and you respect the guy enough to come week in and week out and invest in the course I put out there, then you should respect enough to do the exercises that he's telling you to do as if you're part of a company. That's what this is about, recreating a prop firm environment. Well, when the guy who ran the class, the owner, told everyone to do something and you didn't do it, what do you think happened? He fired a guy for falling asleep in one of the meetings. And he should have. So this is important, and it doesn't have to take a lot of time. It doesn't have to be hours of work. It doesn't have to go in a perfect Excel spreadsheet. I really get the feeling that with people, and I'm not isolating anybody in this group out. I'm really not. It's just people being people. I think what happens, and I could be guilty of it at times myself, I think what happens is we don't do things because we want to make sure it's done perfect. So we never even get started on it because we want to find out the perfect way in which we're going to do it. And then you end up doing nothing, zero. Because you wanted to make sure it was done exactly correct. Well, great. Then do nothing. And so what this was, and last week it was just a short session explaining it, and I'm going to share with those that emailed. And I said, you didn't have to email it to me, but 8 or 9 people did, and I think that's great. The rest, I'm going to ask you, not right now, but I'm going to ask you to pop them in the chat as to what the categories are. So real quickly, what we talked about last week was last week's webinar stopped, but I was done. I had wrapped it up. I had talked about enough of what I wanted to talk about. So I'm hoping that's the reason. That's not the reason why maybe you didn't do this. It stopped abruptly, but I was wrapping it up anyways. So what I talked about last week was looking at, if you were starting this business brand new, your sheet might look a little different, but nobody's super brand new in this room. Okay. And the thing is, you got 3 columns. You could have 4, you could have 2, you could have 1, but if you don't do it, you got 0. And the first column in the upper left-hand column, in the upper left-hand corner, would be, what skill set do you think you need to have to be good at trading? Now, it's going to be different if you're brand new because you might not be aware of what skill set you're going to have. So you might have a lot of stuff down in here that are wrong. Then you got to put a check mark in the column next to it. Is it an advantage, or do I need work, and is it a disadvantage? Do I not even know that it exists as a skill I need to understand? Then you can put a giant check mark. But some sort of indication that you know what the category is and you could kind of assess whether or not you're proficient at it. Maybe you have a middle column that says you're okay. You could have 400 columns. I don't care. But it's better than 0. And if I sound a little pissed off, I am. I expected more people to send me emails. I really did. I'd fire the whole group of people that don't have. If you were here last week, and I don't care if the session ended in 12 minutes or 15 minutes, if you were here last week and you don't have a category, then leave. Leave. If you were here last week and you don't have ideas for categories or skills, then leave. If you weren't here last week, it's not your fault. If you were here last week and you thought the thing ended and you didn't have enough information, you're wrong. And I'm not saying that to the guy who said it cut out in 10 minutes. I was wrapping it up anyways, and I gave out exactly what had to be done for this week. And you know how I know that? It's because 8, 9 people did it. So if you don't have a category, leave. You're wasting my time. And I'm not answering your questions for this session. Next week, I'll answer your questions. I won't be as mad. I just expected more emails, and the more I think about it, the more pissed I get, because then people want to say, well, why can't I do this? Because you can't do little things. How are you going to do the big things? You can't manage $100 and you want to manage $10,000 or $100 million. Good luck. You can't do it. All right. So if you weren't here last week, I'm not talking to you. If you were here last week and you're like, I'll just listen to everybody else, I think you're lazy. I really do. And if it offends you for me getting mad at you, then you're weak and you don't even belong here. So if you didn't do it last week, and I'm talking to you and you take it personal, goodbye. Leave. But if you know you did it wrong, you're like, you know what? He's got a good point. I deserve to get my ass chewed. And I'm going to look to see what people leave. And I might ban them forever from this room. I give out so much effing value in this course where people get it and they just come for 4 or 5 years. And to think that you can't do a simple thing is insane to me. I did it in about less than 30 minutes. And I could have done it in 5 minutes. So if you couldn't do it in 5 minutes or 30 minutes, I think that you suck. If you, in fact, came last week and you said, I'm not going to do it, I'll just listen to everybody else. All right? And I wouldn't embarrass you and call out any names because I don't quite frankly know who did it or didn't do it, except the 8 people that sent it to me. And then you're gonna piggyback off of them, right? So come back next week for those guys that didn't do it, and I'll share with these guys. And I wasn't that mad coming in, but I get mad when I get asked that it cut out in 10 or 15 minutes. Or I get mad when, I wasn't here last week. Well, the things are on the recording. Every week they're up. Maybe they're not there in a day or two, but they're up. They're up. All right, so give me a minute, and I'm going to pull in some other stuff, and I'm not going to tell anybody's name about this. And nobody has to tell me don't share my name. I wouldn't do that anyways. All right, I wouldn't do that. And I think this is a great exercise. And this is the other reason why I get mad, is that there's exercises in course 4, lesson 1, that people don't do. And then they wonder why they can't get in or out or anything else because they don't practice. They don't practice their mechanics, and then they have mechanical mistakes. It's like, well, what are you doing? What if I cut your finger off if you couldn't do it fast? Then you might do it, right? So think about making money or losing your finger if that gets you motivated to do it. And if you guys think that you shouldn't get your ass chewed out, then you're in the wrong business. Because most of you guys that if you worked in a prop firm, you would get dressed down and embarrassed, and you'd go home having a bad day. I'm not talking to anybody specifically. I'm talking to anyone who might not have done it. But I got news for you. You were in a prop firm because this happened. You would get dressed down. I don't care if you were 35, 55, 21, brand new, or whatever. That's the business you're in. This is a big boy league. And either you want to play or you want to just skate along and laugh about it. Not that anyone's laughing, but that's what it seems to me when I tell guys to do it, and then I could tell some guys didn't do it. I don't know which guys, and quite frankly, I don't care. All right, so I'm gonna pull up because I've minimized. It took me longer to take the emails out and put them into images and minimize them to pull them up and share than it would to actually put it together. I had one guy that did it on a piece of paper, took a picture. I think that's awesome. I don't care if it was in a spreadsheet or not. I think it's awesome that just did that much. And then I got mine. And I did mine 2 different ways. I did mine as like if you were brand new and someone were to say, hey, you're brand new and you need to learn this, and that in kind of this order. and you were pretty confident and you trusted that person, then you went and learned it that way. Because I think a lot of people would agree that you end up learning the wrong stuff first, or you don't know if it's the right stuff, and you get mixed up in buying, whether it's courses or books. And it's fine to invest in stuff if it's a little helpful, but it becomes a waste of time when you're learning something that isn't relevant, right? And you're skipping past the good stuff to get to the bad stuff. And now we're going to try to chisel down on the good stuff. I said this in the trading room. At first, I thought there's no wrong answers to these categories, but there might be. I didn't, when I glossed over the ones that sent me the email, I didn't see any that jumped out that said that that's not important. And maybe that's why people didn't do it, because they felt like, oh, I didn't want to put something in there that, well, you got to put yourself out there. Who cares if you put a category that is irrelevant? Right? Who cares? If you thought that, here, you're learning to play baseball, but you have no idea about the sport, and you can't trust the internet searches you do to find out how to go about it, right? But you get someone to say, first of all, I want to teach you some of the rules of the game. Then we can get into what tools that we use. Before I show you how to swing a bat, I'm going to show you that this is a bat, that this is a glove. These are bases. And this is kind of the positions that are played, right? The specs in the the beginning of understanding anything. The specs in trading, right? The products you're going to trade, tick size, what the average bid out, the difference between a bid and an offer, not just size-wise, but spread-wise, liquidity, volume, terminology, and things like that. So let's go over first what I did, and then we'll go over what other people had written down. Let me share my... And by the way, this wasn't directed at a guy that said point taken. I wasn't directing this at you. I was directing it at anyone who didn't do it. And so if you didn't do it, then I was directing at you. All right, I'm going to share a whiteboard. All right. Then I got to get the... text. All right, let's go through it. And I'll just type them out. And this is mine. Again, no right or wrong answer. Then I'm going to pull in the images and the spreadsheets from those that emailed it. And then you guys could type in the ones that you came with and didn't email. Where the hell's the chat? Well, get to work, Chris. Guy's paying you. All right. So like I said, did I go about it slightly different? Yes. In my opinion, everybody has these steps you got to go through to learn. And guess what? The steps never end. They could be different steps at some point in the middle of them, but your steps never end. You're always trying to move up. And I'll get into that in a second. But let me throw a text in here, or a text box, first of all. This is important, and even more important than I would have thought when I started helping people. Terms and phrases of what's going on, the industry speak, should be easy enough to understand that, and I will do a video to help people with it. I think a lot of people know it by now, but they struggle when they come into an environment of someone who is talking different because they're using words that are obviously different than they're used to, different than the books that people read. But there is a specific industry speak, and I think that that's important to know and not take it for granted. Specs, all the stuff I talked about. You should know if you don't trade oil, it's $10 a tick. Gold's 10, 12.50 in the yen. Then they went to half ticks. All those things, have an idea of those, of the price increments. It's not hard, especially in the markets you're going to trade, because how do you know if you're going to trade them early on? NASDAQ is $5 a tick, 50 cents in the micro, 12.50 a tick in the E-minis, 5 in the Dow, and so on. Not hard to do. You could have a sheet and have that out. But those should be giant, easy check marks that you make. Real easy. And that's why I'm starting from the easy part. Styles. This isn't so easy, but I think people take a while to learn this. And that is, scalper. What does that mean? Doesn't mean you have to be one. All it means is that you want to understand what they're trying to do, right? A swing trader, what's the difference? A longer time frame guy, what's the difference? A investor, what's the difference? Because they're trading, but they're trading on a yearly or an annual scale. A longer time frame guy might be someone to hold on to stuff for weeks or months. It doesn't matter if it's futures. It could be stocks. Swing trader, to me, someone that holds on to a trade for a few hours, maybe overnight. And then I think there's someone in between a scalper and a swing trader. Maybe a guy who holds on to for 15 minutes and so on. But to understand this, I'm not going to explain each one, but to understand that there's different styles and different approaches and get an idea how everyone is in fact approaching it, I think is important, and to have check marks that you understand it. Some of you guys might not understand exactly what is trying to be done. This isn't as important unless you're trying to trade your investments on this side, but in here, it's important to stay on what others are trying to do, especially early on when you're getting into stuff. Mechanics, right? What are mechanics? Well, to me, those are the tools that you're going to need. Charts, which is a platform. Then you get into the shortcuts of any kind of technology and software, and you learn, you get your way around it. But you know that there's a platform. You don't have to learn about charts. You just know that there's something called a charting platform that you need, and in that comes a DOM. Kind of get an idea what that means. When you get into charts, get into chart types, simple bar charts, candlesticks. You don't have to know them all. Do you know them all? Maybe you don't know them all. Time periods. Do you know some of them? Yeah. Again, this is for more or less beginner traders. Then actually I put DOM down in here in a separate category where you know what the numbers are. You know that there's bids. What does a bid mean? What does an offer mean? Size, all that stuff. You're try to read order flow, footprint and stuff, and you don't understand the DOM because that's the derivative. That's where it comes from. The footprint is what trades. The DOM is what might want to trade. All right, guess what? Guess what's next? I want to know if you guys know what you think is next. So specs, terms, phrases, some specs, what contracts, what they are, the bid, tick value, all that stuff, styles, mechanics, what tools we have, a charting platform. You have types of charts, chart periods, understanding bars and candlesticks, then into the DOM. Let's get rid of this. Then into the DOM. With numbers, what are bids off? What do you think the next category would be? Wrong. It starts with an E. Nope. Everybody's saying execution. Wrong. Exercises. Not that you make them up. You're not going to know how to make up an exercise. What are some exercises that can make me know that I understand what the numbers in the DOM mean, bids and offers, that I know what order types there are, because I can now put them in and take them out. Forget if you learn a methodology and you learn execution, before you actually could execute physically, what good is it? That's where people get mixed up. Just get used to putting orders in, taking orders out. People want to learn order types, but then they won't adhere to an exercise that allows them to buy 3, sell 2. My long or short, looking for a bid, looking for an offer. You don't have to train to be a scalper to speed up your ability to slow things down. Things get slowed down when you speed yourself up because they're just slowed down for you. I use the analogy of I don't speak Spanish, and because I don't speak Spanish, it sounds like they're talking fast. They're not. It's just that I don't understand it. They think I'm talking fast. So you got to slow things down, and understanding does that. Exercises slows things down for you by making the exercise fast. Let someone bust your stones by getting in there and saying, do this, do that, do this, you suck. Pull it. I said pull it. Buy 4, sell 4. Recreate some sort of stress. You're trying to do something that's like hunting, only the deer have guns also. All right? You're hunting deer, but the deer got guns. So find exercises and get good at them. You don't have to keep doing them, but this is how I would train someone. I would obviously give them a sense of charts and order types and chart periods like P&F and whatever. Here's a dome. Here's what it means. Here's a price. Here's a bid. Here's an offer. Now, guess what? You're going to play with it. You're going to play with it. You're going to be able to go through a chart and sharpen your predictive skills. Well, what do you mean predictive skills? I don't even know methodology. Exactly. I don't want you to know methodology. I want you to walk through and try to predict what's going to happen on the chart next. Why do you think in course 4, I put the first lesson just exercises? All right. So I'm not going to write all this down, but it's chart prediction, dome execution, quoting, getting in, getting out, getting in, getting out, getting in, getting out. All right, now, what do you think the next one is? Don't worry about being wrong because you all were wrong last time. I don't care if you're wrong, but pretend like it's okay to be wrong, and it is. What's the next one you think? It's not an easy question, by the way. It's not like this is a no-brainer. Wrong. I should call your name out. I'm just joking, Ron. Chris, you got to stay wherever you are. Stay underneath there till tonight. I think that these are decent answers, but I just disagree with the order of it. Someone says review. Review what? Journal. Journal what? Risk management. Manage what risk? How? I don't understand it. Psychology. Okay, I think these are all going to fall into place, but sizing. Sizing, no way. 0. Warren, you're going to keep answering methodology till you get that one right. I think concepts, not methodology. And you might have thought methodologies, concepts, which is market, relationships, and order flow. Now, remember, you're not learning all this stuff and being an expert in it. You're starting to understand it and understanding, wait a second, now that I know what the tools are, now that I know that the chart works this way, now that I know that this is how you execute, now that I've been able to actually play around and execute on this dome, someone who actually does that would be better at their dome than most people that are actually been trading for years with a dome. People who actually do the exercises before they've learned anything else, they'll get in and out better than people who've been trading for 2 years. So market relationships and order flow is what I would start telling people or educating people as to, okay, so that's how whatever methodology that you're going to try to implement, these are the techniques used to value price, because they have to understand, and you have to continue to understand this, that's what we're doing here. If price is cheap, we're bullish. If it's expensive, we're bearish, correct? So the better you are at valuing price with all the other tools that we'll bring in, the better you are at picking location. So it's important to understand the concepts, market correlations, and I'm just going to put this in here, market relationships, order flow, and I suspect a lot of people, from what I've seen, have order flow, and that's good. But the market correlations is the why, the where, all that stuff, and I don't want to get into it. And I don't mean to put Mr. Order Flow. It's market relationships and order flow. Also, guess what? Any semblance of market structure. Would I tell you to get deep into volume and market profile? No, not yet, because that could be something later. But just understanding what market structure is, like some semblance of a pattern, right? A pattern to understand once you get into order flow, understanding trap traders, then you'll be able to put yourself in a position to understand the patterns that show you what those trap traders are all about. And remember, through order flow, you learn after you buy it, you're a seller and things like that, and you work on some of those things. And you get into some of the tools that you would use to read order flow. Where did I put that down? Like the footprint, delta, inflection points where the tempo picks up. When you see certain flow in similar markets happening at the same time in all the trap traders, but getting into the right questions to ask when understanding and learning order flow. So the two concepts are the next one. All right. And then remember, the person learning never stops learning. So they could have two additional columns to check, are they good at terms and phrases? If you talk like a trader, you're good at terms and phrases. If I hear someone say, I sold a bounce, it's a little weird to me, right? I bought it and the market went down and I made money. Or if they talk, I got short in the hole. Well, they're starting to make a little sense to me. Then they understand the terms and phrases. And trust me, just because you could speak it doesn't mean you're going to make money. But that is an important part of understanding it. That's all. So my point is, you could have and would have check marks in the column as to how proficient you think you are in understanding all this stuff. This isn't the exact right way to do it, all right? So don't think that yours are different orders or you don't have this stuff, that you're wrong. You're not. And if you didn't do it, I wasn't as mad as I got when I started. I started getting mad. But I can go from 0 to 60 back to 60 or back to 0. And then back to 60. All right. So geopolitical and fundamentals would be next, right? Starting to bring in news and spelling. Maybe we should add spelling in the list. So geopolitical fundamentals, which include numbers, events, central banks, any kind of unrest. You guys know that. The drivers, right? The drivers. How good are you at understanding all of this? Let's go like that. How good are you understanding at this and reacting to it, being able to essentially give a morning briefing to people? What's driving the market? Understanding what you're reading, understanding the Brexit today. You guys that are watching this in 3 months or 6 months might not understand what I'm talking about, but today, Brexit hit the market, drove it right away. Did you understand it? Were you able to react to it? Did you pull in ancillaries quickly? Because if you did all those things, you have a check in the advantage column or in the proficient column. Next page. What do you think is next? Same methodology, Warren, and I'm going to St. Louis. You should have stuck with methodology. No, the next one is actually, to me, a little bit of the mind and markets. I put psychology, but I can't spell it. Just a little bit of understanding how this business is going to affect you. Before you get in, because that's next, to a trade plan and the style you think you fit underneath after you understand all these tools and how to use them and how to value price, understanding, and then obviously the exercises towards the beginning, fundamentals and how they drive the market and what's driving all that stuff. Understand a little bit before you get into how this affects you, how it's going to affect you, how it affects other traders, right? Not being an expert in it, not trying to figure out exactly how it's going to affect you. But what's important about learning it before you start really getting in there and trading is that you minimize the surprises of, wow, I didn't think it was going to humble me that much. Wow, I never thought that I could add to losers, and I never thought I was capable of doing something so stupid. That's why I would want people to get introduced to the marriage between your mind and the markets. So you're not surprised on how stupidity could quickly get into your trading. And then there's a continuance of all this stuff, but including the psychology. But that also comes later with the next one. What do you think the next one is? Go ahead, Warren. What is it? Trade plan and methodology, both. You actually had them both right. You just eventually you keep buying it, you're going to be right. Trade plan or your methodology. It doesn't have to be, the same word or mean the same exact thing, but what your trade plan from, and this is important, what style you think fits your personality. But if you didn't get into the psychology about how you think after what you know, after getting through all of this stuff and what you know about the business, and then what you find out about yourself and what you can't find out about yourself, what style do you think and what market specs and style do you think would fit best for you? And once you get into that, you create your plan around how you create your opinion, how you understand the qualifiers with the tools you have, and where your overlaps are. The trade plan includes, I'm not going to write all this stuff down, even though I have it in here. Risk management. What is the risk management? Hey, listen, if you did the exercises and know how to get in and out, you're going to understand that risk is where you get out for losers and how it compares to where you get out for winners. You can't manage your risk unless you can manage yourself, which goes into the psychology, and you know the order types and the actual mechanics of managing that risk. Then you get into, I don't want to erase all this because I'm going to have someone say, oh, wait, leave that up. And I hope the internet doesn't clunk out after 15 minutes. I'm just joking, Alan. after you get into how you want to go, think about this. After you have a little bit of a trade plan and your idea, because of all this other stuff you learned, and you got your exits, and you understand a little bit more about yourself, the psychology, the style you want to do. Don't you think it's a lot easier if you were journaling all the way into coming up with that trade plan and reviewing as way of previewing? And I think that's the next step. Are you good at it? Do you suck at it? Is there any connectivity to your group study? Is it just you on an island? Because if it is, again, put an X in the disadvantage column. If you're not journaling, put an X in the disadvantage column. If you are, you put an X. This is the advantage. This is the disadvantage column. Put an X. If you're not reviewing as part of some sort of collaborative trading buddy effort, hey, that's fine. No problem. Make sure you got an X in the disadvantage column. And don't give me this, I journal, but I don't know the exact perfect way to review. I don't know the exact perfect way to journal. Everybody wants to start perfect. They never start. And I'm not isolating anyone out there. I'm saying it to everyone, including myself. We all fail to start because we all want to make sure it's done perfectly right. Yeah, there's a right and wrong way to start, and right and wrong. You don't want to start completely wrong, but just get some momentum. What are those emails that I read now every morning in the trading room? It's all about action. All right. So then the last thing, and not the least, is this. And it's not the course or my website. It's what edge do you have and that you continue to work on throughout? How many times have you heard me say there's always a better way to see the same thing? Literally 1,000 times if you've been around me for these 5 years. I'm always working on that. Those dials, trust me, I'm not making these dials and these edge alert to make a ton of money because they don't sell. They don't fly off the shelf. I'm doing it for better ways to see and hear the same thing. Always working and thinking on better ways to see the same thing. If you know anything about me, the common denominator, you can listen to videos I did for whatever, 7, 8 years ago. I think there's old videos of me. Nothing changes. It's market relationships, it's order flow. How to find the most efficient ways to use those tools is what changes. And because I'm always thinking about it, always working on what's my edge, what's our edge. So do you have a plus or a check in the advantage or disadvantage? I got a big check in the advantage column because I never stop working on that. That's what these weekly trading sessions or the coaching sessions are for. And I'm glad you guys come to it. That's only part of the battle, though. You got to also do some of the things coming out of them. All right, so let's clear this up. Take a picture of it. I'm not going to share this. Well, it's on recording, so what am I talking about? Let's clear it. Stop that share. We're going to share that screen. We're going to get rid of that. That's the trading room screen. We're going to bring in some other people's spreadsheets without calling or mentioning their name. Where the hell are they? Here's one. No, that ain't one. Here we go. I just want to make sure the names aren't on here. Hold on a second. Here's a few. This guy's first name, but you're not going to care if I show that, right, Eric? All right. Let's go with this guy. You guys see this spreadsheet? Nobody's name is on there. Where the hell is the chats at? All right, good. All right, you see the spreadsheet, good. Now, just running through this was a good one. Comfortable, competent, or needs work. Same thing as advantage, disadvantage. Methodology includes indicators, pattern recognition, delta, order flow, correlations, news, daily review, study, looking for new ideas, all incorporated in the list I sent out. All these I agree with. Indicators aren't bad if they're qualifiers to help you read order flow, not just some arrow that appears, and that's not what this guy meant because I know him, but not just some arrow that appears, you don't know why, that's just going to tell you it's bullish. It's got to incorporate correlation and order flow, and then if it makes it easier to see, it's a better way to see the same thing. All these things are good. What also is good is he's honest where he needs work and where he's comfortable. Platform, software, DOM, broker, order types, order placement, all these things, he needs work and he's comfortable. Well, exercises would clean up and eliminate these needs work check marks. All of them. You need help with a broker? Let me know. I'll tell you which ones are jerks and which ones are good. And I will tell you which ones are jerks. Psychology. This is a long list. And this is a good list. And I'll incorporate this. You should incorporate this. Emotional intelligence, mindfulness, which is, for me, your level of awareness. Knowing yourself. To me, fight or flight. Are you too fearful, too greedy? Revenge trading, know when you're doing it. If you need work at revenge trading, boy, you got to get that X over here. Euphoria, you don't want to have too much euphoria when you're trading. That's for when you played a lotto. Blaming, usually the market. Yeah, you got to get that X over here. I'm not saying that it's easy to get these X's from this column to that column, but it is possible and it is necessary. So this was a good one. Who did this one again? I won't say, but who did it? If you're here. Yeah, I didn't like it. I knew I didn't like it. That's what I thought. That's why I didn't share your name. No, I'm just joking. Actually, that was the one we used as a kind of a template last week. I would have showed you, but the internet went out. All right, so trading. This one wasn't done as organized as the last one, but neither was mine. Let me just go. Getting better with more practice, homework. Use these areas to keep me from trading anywhere. So he's got comments. Order flow interpretation. Signals and triggers. Correlated markets. Trade execution. Trade management. How to use this. News is in there. When you put homework could incorporate getting all these X's from the disadvantage to the advantage column. Right? Getting better at these tools, whether it's just having your Sierra chart set up so you're not dicking around with them, excuse my language, but you can't be dicking around with charts a lot. Once in a while, and then that's it. Making sure that he understands, coming to these meetings, journaling, accountability partner. I like this. I don't like all of them. And to me, it's a little mashed up. And I think that you got to put these in more of a spreadsheet and then make it a little cleaner. But what I like is some of the things that you have to do that you might not be doing. If it's coming to these meetings, something simple like that, make sure you know if you're doing it. Here, this general awareness is huge. It's absolutely imperative that you're aware of your surroundings. We talk about learning and understanding how trading the news is important, but if your level of awareness is small, then all you learn, you'll forget. You won't be aware of it. All right, let's go next one. Eric, I liked it. Ooh, this one looks pretty clean too. Let's make sure the individual's name isn't on here. It's not. Ah, shoot. Whose is this? Are you here? That's all right, Eric. That's what I was thinking. It was in if it's an Excel spreadsheet or yeah, if it's in the spreadsheet, it just got dumped into my Google Documents. It would have been spread out better. All right, so this one, mentors. Let's just start at the top. Let's not read all the way through it. Mentors, strength. Be funny if they put a weakness. Identifying the transition from a move up down consolidation versus move up down correction opposite direction. I like that. I really do. It's a weakness, but I like the ability to want to understand it. Look at how they broke down order flow. Disappearing imbalances, disappearing edge zones, icebergs, how to use the speed in which order flow comes out. What this person did was break down the different variations of order flow. Guess what they did? Guess what they did? They asked better questions. Broke down market correlations, tools. All of these are check marks in the strength column, and that's great. So don't just spend the time on where you're strong, like because you know you could easily tweak software. I think this is where people have a problem. They know their way around software, so they just tweak the hell out of it more and more and more and more and more and more. You know what I mean? Hey, the painting is done. We don't need any more mountains. We don't need any more trees or a little rabbit. It's done. Put a frame on it and sell it. We're done. So don't over, and I'm not talking specifically to this person, to everyone. Don't over tweak. Strength in understanding price patterns and highs and lows and anticipation of, this is a great one, anticipating a price pattern completion. You know how you get better at it? Exercises. Sees where he needs more work. So for someone like this, they look at the weaknesses and then they go and they say, hey, this is what I got to work on. Makes your time more efficient. Strategy needs more work at some of these, whether it's understanding when a trend comes in, because this particular person likes to buy and sell turns. And I know this individual, so he needs more work at when a trending strategy starts to take shape. He's not getting run over trying to fade it. I like that someone's admitting all the weaknesses that they have, writes them all out, and now could go back and say, am I getting any better at all of them? Here's a problem that what I want to make sure you guys don't do. Don't try to be great at all of these things. And certainly don't try to be great at them in a short period of time. but discipline, accountability, risk management, psychology, environment that he's in, analytics. This is a great one, even though you might minimize it. If I walked into your office that you guys trade in, would you be embarrassed? Give me a yes or a no and be honest. I won't say any names. If I walked into the office you trade in, would you be embarrassed? Warren, I know you were going to say no. You probably got 4 or 5 pieces of dust that you're pissed are laying around. So it's more or less 50-50. You don't have to be super organized like Warren is, but I'm not super organized. But if you came to my office, you'd say it looks nice. There were a couple days I had to pull out some papers for something and I had SHIT all over, but that was temporary because I was pulling stuff out. So I think that most people said they wouldn't be embarrassed, but some, at times you would be. My point is, what's your environment? Is it conducive to keeping your mind uncluttered? Because if your desk is cluttered, your mind is cluttered, period. I don't have anything. I got a cup, a bottle of water, my cell phone, a notebook, and $2 coins because I thought the lady screwed me she gave me change $2 US coins. I said, I didn't know they made those. I still don't think they made them. I got to investigate. I know they got $50. I never seen a dollar coin. So I got to find out if they're real. But that's all that's on my desk. And the mouse. But keep it clean. Just like your charts. All right, let me ask you this question. Would I be embarrassed if I looked at your monitors and all the SHIT you have on them, like charts and everything else? So the charts look nice and organized. Your monitors, they're good. Okay. Now, I'll be honest, on 2 of my monitors, I'd be embarrassed because I'm organizing them as we speak and I'm working with these dials and have built some things. And so I'm pissed off that a couple of them don't look like I want them to look. But you should have your charts and all organized and not shit all over the place. Cluttered monitors, cluttered desk, cluttered mind. And then they buy 14 books to try to figure out why their mind's all cluttered. Burn the stuff on your desk. The first thing you should do. What's that, Paul? I'm missing the context of what you said. Oh, Paul says they are real. All right. Well, I got 2 of them. I'm not going to try to use them. $1 coins. I know there's $50, but they're $1 coins. I'll sell them to you 4 to get you 2. All right, let's move on. All of this is good, though. And remember, this doesn't have to be your list. 1 or 2 could be. What I don't like about this list is don't try to make all the weaknesses strengths. You're going to overwhelm yourself. Less is more. It's the only thing I don't like about certain parts of this list. Try to condense it. Accountability, try to condense it with some sort of review you have with an accountability partner. Now, I don't have Susan B. Anthony. I got Abraham Lincoln. Oh, I do have Susan B. Anthony. And Lincoln. All right. Come on, Zane. Stop getting me off my game here. You guys from Kansas have nothing better to do than distract people. Let's look at one more. And I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm going to go through one more. And this one is messed up, and it's not because of the guy sending it. It's because it opened in my Google Docs instead of my Sheets. So let me look at something. Hold on a second. All right. I got to read this off of here. Hold on a second. I'm not going to share it. Just listen to it. And this is a pretty good one. Maybe I can bring it down. No, I can't. No, wait a second. Maybe I can. Hold on. I just want to make sure. I'm going to share. If you sent me, you know, I'm not going to share your name, but I'm going to share it. If you don't want me to, tell me, because I'm going to bring it down. I like it. Doesn't have the guy's name on it. Oh, I told you it was a guy. All right. This one's got a lot of stuff, but it's some interesting stuff here. First of all, it's got Nick Saban's simple formula. He's the head coach of Alabama because he couldn't make it in the pros and left LSU because he probably got that school in trouble. So he went to Miami, screwed that up, got paid in Alabama. But he must be a good coach. Consistent, profitable, professional trader in all sensible markets, derivatives, equities. That's the vision. That's not, I think this is his equation, right? Doing the things you know you need to do, even though you don't want to do them. Not doing the things you know you should not do, even though you want to do them. Well said. Now I think people should list those two categories out. What are the things you need to do that you don't like doing? And do those. You'll feel better about it. But this particular spreadsheet's interesting. He's got the area, he's got the solution. I'm not going to go through each one, but bar chart reading, order flow, footprint, TPO, swing tradings, options, psychology, independent reading, software, news analysis, life balance. Look at this. Even what they should do to get in better shape. This is a good one. All of them are good. This one's got a lot of detail, and you don't need this much detail. But I don't think it hurts to do it once, to fill something like this out once. Do you notice everybody has psychology in every one of their sheets? I think what's important, I like the fact that I'm a solution guy, and the fact that you put solutions next to it is a good way to phrase it instead of just disadvantage, advantage. You know, it could be proficient or solution. Solution is I'm weak at it. But what are you going to do to solve it? Whose is this? You didn't mind me sharing it, did you? Good. I liked it. And last but not least, there's more. Where the heck is this one at now? This is what's cool, is that this is why I got pissed earlier, because all you had to do was even something like this. Didn't have time, so he wrote it all up. Awesome. The Dome, review, trade log, chart review, news feed, correlated markets, a routine, have a daily routine, consistency with psychological, it's working on tech analysis with the edge zones, stuck traders, even though I wouldn't consider that completely tech analysis, but I get what you're saying. A playbook, draw up your playbook. Now, I wouldn't want you to do a playbook unless you did all those things I had on my list, but this particular guy did. So, if you were just starting, I wouldn't want you to have a playbook. But I think these are some really interesting topics. And I like advantage, disadvantage, some sort of column so you could account where you are. Because if you were doing a review with me and you put a check mark in an advantage column, I would say, well, let's see. And then I would test you. And then you sucked. And I'd say, take that check mark and put it over there. I don't mean it for this particular guy, but you know what I mean. Sometimes we think we're good at stuff and we suck at it. And when you think that was like me in high school. In grade school, I was by far the best athlete. And I thought I'd be by far the best athlete in high school, but I wasn't. Why? I'm bringing that up because when you compare yourself to other people, you really start to gauge how good you are. And I'm talking about like speed and proficiency with understanding how to put orders in and out and things like that. If you think you're better at news, that's great. I think that most people in this world don't think that they could make money on news, so they don't even try. Someone says in here, they love to see all these are different, shows how we are all individuals and see the same things differently. That's exactly right. Same things differently. That's why what's the best way to see the same thing from an indicator standpoint, from a practical standpoint? I was telling someone, I'm going to get rid of this one. I was telling someone, I think yesterday, about making sure that our real estate with our charts and everything are as practical as possible. So if you got a monitor there and a monitor there and a monitor there and a monitor there, let's say the average is 4. I would imagine that's probably the average, 3 or 4, 2 or 4. And your head is right here. So you got a small head. And your eyes are only going to like funnel out to see that much space with what you're staring at. Again, this is your windshield, but these are your mirrors. So you're not going to see. What do you think I pulled the British pound over when that mattered? Because I put it in my eye shot. And I think that trying to create better ways to see the same thing, potentially are these dials, because I'm going to have them put over here so I could see more of what's going on without being confused about what I'm seeing. So instead of having to look at 4 charts, I can look at 4 dials in this amount of screen space instead of, this amount of screen space. So it's just about being practical and working on this word. What's your edge? How could you keep working on a new advantage? Doesn't mean you reinvented the wheel to value price. We're all trying to do one thing: buy cheapness and sell richness. Buy cheapness and sell richness. Stay out of the middle. Let me get rid of these drawings. Next week, unless it changes, I got to call him this week. It's either next week or the week after. I'm going to leave it up to him. Ken, motivational speaker, is going to come in and talk. And it might be at night. Might be a Tuesday or Wednesday night. You guys will I'll keep you guys updated for it and on it. It'll be our Tuesday session. Might be Tuesday night, however. I'm not going to ask guys to put their stuff in the chat today. I'm going to ask you to do it another time. So those listening on recording, you could send me an email if you want, or the next time I ask, what are your categories? And you didn't have a chance to email me, but you had a chance to think of them, then you could pop them in. But we spent a lot of time going over this, and I don't want to spend any more. I think we accomplished what we wanted to. This has been recorded, I hope. And I'll pop it in there, and you guys could go back through it. But I think that you don't have to keep making your sheet. I think you make it one time and keep an eye on whether or not you're working towards making the weak stuff the strong stuff. And if you ever have a question like, is this worthwhile chasing down? I'd say yes or no. I do think a couple of those sheets, they could have been condensed. I think this sheet right in here, this is just my opinion. I think that, I don't think that there was any of these categories that were wrong in the skills, but I think they could be condensed. This daily, weekly, monthly, because when you look at a long list, you get overwhelmed. But if it works for you, who am I? Some of those things all fell under Delta. I'll leave you with this. Stop looking for the right answer and start looking for the right question. You ask the right question, you'll find the answer. You look for the right answer, you don't know what the hell you're going to find, because the guy giving it to you could be a jerk. Most people, well, some people are great, some people are good, some are okay, some suck, and everything in between. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Good job, though.